too early for me to take notes.
Are we recording? Yeah,
Yeah.
recording. Okay.
Yeah, it says it's recording.
Great. All right. So the purpose of our session is really first some precedents over the website, and then show you some of the things that, like I do with my team in some of the other projects, just get inspired, right? And then build the template that you need to do under WordPress to accommodate what we need, and everything is subject to change. So we're going to start with some layout first, and then created a theme, right? With that theme, then we're going to start going back to that. So I normally start asking myself, who's my reader or viewer, right? That's my first thing. Who's my audience? In first phase of implementation that we are looking at it is we have to build this, what I call a bipolar, for a better lack of a term, website that essentially more is telling the story to the consumers, okay, with the video search. But at the same time, it's more targeted toward the investor because we are raising money. So with that, really, we are talking more abstract, not specific. We have no application to show anybody. So it's all about storytelling and using photo stocks, using video content, etc., to do different things. So that was the premises of what we wanted to accomplish. And then it was some ideas that we talked about where we could have example of some of the things that I wanted you to see. For example, is one of my resellers, okay, in Asia, in Latin America, and in some parts of Europe, is a brand called V2 Video, as an example, right? As you can see, this is a WordPress, but what it does, it uses my room, okay, that he has built. He puts a little explanation in here, but what he's done, he's put a little highlighter in here that he can magnify, right? And then people that they can go in here and talk about it, right? It tells the story, right? This can be animated GIF, this can be video, this can be picture, right? And so forth and so on. I'm again talking about the template layout, right? And if you scroll down, then you see some key points with some, you know, what we call icons, right? It's a descriptor, short messages, because these are mostly mobile users. Remember, they're browsing, right? So you don't want to tell a long dissertation. And then, for example, we are working with companies with smart cities. So when you want to do something like we are doing with city of Austin, for example, and so forth, you see that this is designed with Austonians, for instance, okay? The videos, the notices, etc. So all of a sudden, when you bring somebody, you can talk to them about the explanation of the story. And then if they want to find out more, right? Now there are things that we can do. For now, we can fill out a form, right? Call to action. Somebody gets back with it. This was, for example, something that I did for them last year in Spain. We built the world's first interactive concert in Madrid with Sony, for example. So this was the pictures of the concert that we did last year that people had watch parties in the concert, right? So this, again, tells the story. So what we want to do is make sure that we understand what we are talking about, right? This is, you know, obviously with the Spaniards very famous, but the whole idea is telling what we want to do. So in here, my goal is like, for example, instead of saying virtual interactive sports hub, right? It says hybrid technology as an example, right? The other one says on-premise technology. Okay, then we can talk about on-prem, right? SaaS as a service technology, right? Then we have a little segmentation here. So I'm using this kind of a metaphor for educating you to think from the template that he has designed, right? Or he has put together. So when we are coming to virtual interactive in here, for example, and we are talking to travel clubs, or we are going to the showrooms in here, there are some cool showrooms because some of them are done by different brands, different Mercedes-Benz, and so forth and so on. And then that gives the retailers, for example, an idea how things be used, right? Or we did, for example, virtual shareholders meeting. So you see, the storytelling is very conducive, and at the same time, it collects data. The way that I like to see something happening with us is when we go to web to tele video. This is a project that we are launching with a series of Dutch and Southeast Asian partners. But what happens is we create a series of photo stock videos and we present it in here because the product didn't exist. So meet your clients, web to tele magic button, taking you to the trip, right? Showing you around, asking you, see, short message, shopping made easy, experience web to tele magic button, right? Things like that. Present the video to tell the story. Okay, so we can create the script and upload it in there. So the story can come from the video, not from us. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. And then very short, like flexible, reliable, easy to use, blah, 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 right? And then here's the web to tele magic button, right? And it goes to different scenarios from pharmacy to, you know, so on and so forth and so on. But then if somebody wants to experience it, for instance, right? And they come to the site, when they click on a demo, for example, they are in an empty street, right? And there is a web to tele magic button in here, and they click on it. So one of the things that I looked at it was at DuckDuck, okay, Go, as a use case model, because DuckDuckGo is competing against the search engine. Right. So you got to learn from what are they doing. So we went in here, and I saw exactly what I was trying to tell Meredith. I said, you need 3 doors, experience-wise, for the users. Okay. You need one is a 2-dimension. People can simply search. Okay, very simple. Then you want them inside the room, like we are in a Zoom meeting, right? Inside the digital media room, inside the media room, we are connected, right? And we are interacting, we are asking questions, and we are talking to the search engine, right? And then the third one that they call it like privacy or browser, for example, in here app, we are in a verse. Okay, because verse is the sexy thing. You got to sell it to the investors. Remember, people want to put their money into shit, not realistic stuff. Okay, because they're buying your dreams. So if you don't include the dream, then they say you're obsolete. So that's why I was trying to educate my colleagues in here that if you look at the simplicity of a model, right, like this, we don't store your personal information ever, right? Things like that, right? This is a very good way of bringing the subject back to consumer. But if you go in here and click to this sidebar, you see all of a sudden through CSS, they are giving you the things that you need. Okay. So I don't want to follow the same website as everybody else does. You got to understand the template is going to be dramatically improved because people, when they have to come out, they got to come out with a wow factor, not just with the stupidity of, oh, I saw a bunch of pages. Okay, I got it, blah, 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 blah. That to me is boring. So taking that into consideration, I suggest we look at the items that we want to build, right? Including the privacy statement, okay, because we got to put all of those legal mumbo jumbo, the CCCPA, you know, all of the GDPRs, right? All the intellectual properties here, like who we are. You see, very simple, right? About us, privacy policy, careers, press kit. I love the simplicity of the layout for a search engine on these themes, because now people can choose their themes eventually, consumers, right? They can choose which gateway they want to get into. Door number 1, door number 2. You catch my drift?
Yes, yes.
So with that in mind, now we have a model that we can look at it and get inspired and then build all of our other information in here. Now, what are our information is the one that you guys looking at it from Meta Exchange itself, right? And saying, you know, I don't know, let me see. I need to find our website. So I want to show it to you with AI. Sorry. Great. Oh,
I know. I like the simplicity of this. I don't.
yeah, because
I'm just, yeah, I'm distracted by a lot of text. I don't really like it anymore. Call me a millennial. I don't know, but it's distracting. Old websites with a lot of content. Like I want to get off of it immediately.
exactly, because it becomes distracting. You just want to get to the point. You want to get the things done. And if you're targeting toward the consumers, then we don't want it to become. So I'm going to put this site in here right now, right? This is our site, right? So I don't want this kind of menus. To me, it's, again, boring, all right? Everybody knows it. Here, you should have the message, like DuckDuckGo. Here it is, okay? Right in your face. To the investors, to this. We are a search engine. We're going to be the biggest search engine for video marketing. End of story. That's the storytelling, right? And then when they click in here right now, it's going to go to a MailChimp form, okay? And it says, be first to know. Example of that is what I have done with Oswald video, okay? As an example. This is one of my projects. I built fan balls for clients and for sports and so forth, right? So the first thing I do for the Oswald, I pop out here because I'm doing name collection. I'm doing lead generation, right? I want to be able to communicate with people. So this is connected to MailChimp, right? MailChimp creates the whitelist for me. And if they have to remove themselves, if you have to market it, right? Because we're going to be using it for market education. Then also in here, I connected it to a media room in this case. In this case, Oswald was really the wall that we built so they can go for an experience. You can see this one, right? So I want to bring them into a virtual room of ours, at least from ICDN, so they can meet with us or they can get information, all right? So here, their video appears because here in the background, I can put video. Here, different videos create the wall. You can see the wall can be flat screen, can be curved, right? And I have the sponsors and everything else, and I can move this up to 60 videos and put them on giant video wall, right? And I got myself a fan wall. So the thing is, I want, when we come into a page like this for Meta Exchange, where it says white paper or it says resources, okay, under the sidebar, right? When they click on it, we don't hand over the white paper to them. We collect names.
Okay.
Okay, that's the main intention. So we're going to have a web form, right? But our web forms can be bootstrapped from the API from MailChimp. We can start with the first 500 because it's free. And after that, then we pay for it. End of story. Okay, but now we can use that list for email campaigns, for newsletter, for blogs, for market education, for broadcasting, for sending out Eventbrite tickets, okay, things like that, that we can do to start educating the market. Now, here, I was suggesting the following. So we don't really talk about Meta Exchange here or things like that, right? This is what we agreed on. So that's going to become our home button. These are going to become our sidebars, agreed? So nobody becomes intrusive. But when they come in here, I like us to have the first video in here, right? Little story. I don't like any small video. So always get them on their face. We don't have right now anything on our services, but what we can do is the following. And that's what I was suggesting. We can take the information right now, as we have, call it phase one, right? Where we actually have the Meta Exchange pitch deck here, right? About us, use the same sentence because it makes it easier for the investor to have continuity. Remember, behind the scene, you gotta raise the money, right? So if he reads the pitch deck and he comes to this website and reads, they correlate. Okay.
Right.
So agree on the pitch deck, right? And put that as a copy and paste, put a beautiful image and put this one in here. So that's for that, right? You want to issue a problem? We have a problem. Problem is published by Publisher Insider. We are not making it up, right? We are addressing a problem. So we want the problem to be published by the third-party source, which we have hyperlinked it in here, okay, that we can use, and take a little screenshot of this section as media post, and says media post, blah, blah. And later on, another article that it comes out, we can replace them, right? But here, right now, it just tells you. Ever get frustrated with a clumsy video? I mean, that's a great opener for me. Okay. Here, just is right in front of you, right?
Yeah.
And we didn't have to write it.
No, because it's imposing a problem that it exists. It's like the white elephant, but nobody wants to talk about it. So
Yeah.
here we are. Right? Okay, now then we isolate the problem to those little icons that I like it to improve, right? So you can put a little icon visual here, icon here, icon here, icon there, like we were telling you on the presentation, right? That you're working on. And then we use the same thing we talk about, okay? Because our problem are still the same problem that it says it in here. So subsequently, we're creating relativity to pitch deck and to the website. And then we have an icon that it says solution, right? So when we are coming to our little page in here, right? When we are here, the sidebar, right? One of our items that we are talking about going to be the solution. So instead of saying, we says home, about, instead of talking about technology, we are not going to talk about it. We're going to say problem. We're going to say solution, right? And
Okay.
on our about, we are writing our vision statement, right? That's what we are writing. So everybody knows what we are doing. And then features, it's not needed right now because we are defining the features. But here, what we are going to do on the feature side, we create a little video, like what I said, create a little script, like a little, what I call Alice in a Wonderland, the script, for a better lack of a term, you know, that she is looking for video, you know, because you got to tell a story always. Otherwise, it doesn't resonate with people, right? So Alice arrives. She doesn't know where to go, right? So door number 1, door number 2, door number 3. Then you build different storytelling, right? That becomes different script. And that script gets connected to every one of these when it gets produced. So curiosity, right, creates the curiosity. So if you want to go to that privacy, for example, in a 2-dimension, you go 2-dimension. You want to go to a room, you go to a room, meta room, right? You want to go to immerse, you go to immerse, right? Now we create the video presentation for those. Let the video tell the story, right? And then what is the call to action? 2 things, 3 things. We end up having 3 databases. People that they want to search online, call it public. Corporations that they're looking for their own enterprise on-premise solution. And the hybrid guys. Mostly are going to be cloud guys that they're going to partner.
Right.
Okay. So this is going to be where your call to action is going to drive the names, the collection. So this way we can do target market. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And with that, behind the scene, we are doing our preparation. We are doing our work. And this becomes what we call phase 1. So 80% of the work is going to be through video. We have resources like Fiverr that we use, okay? There are resources like this person does not exist.com that it creates an artificial intelligence picture of a person that you don't have to worry about its copyright. And you can insert it in here for testimonial, okay? I use a lot of AI in my work because, in fact, right now I'm working with a group in Hong Kong that you put a script, like I showed you earlier, remember last week, and it creates that. I have embedded inside one of our rooms. We are experimenting with it. It's really cool. because that kind of thing is what we have to make the user's experience. Okay, so as we're going to be working with Murdoch behind the scene to build the foundation, the infra, right? You got to build the user experience coming from the user's feedback, not you. User's feedback is data, okay, not mine, right? We initiate some creative ideas through what we call creative agencies. And the creative agency, because I work with many ad agents that are on the globe, I have some juice that I can, give as an attribute and guide us, because I know the probability of success. But in summary, the site should become like a DuckDuckGo, very simple, very down-to-earth page that is just right in front of them. Sidebar, where we are giving all the menus of options, including corporate. Then you can get into the bios, management, all of those things that you need to eventually build for SEC, because you need all of those items. So that's the general idea. Now back to you. Okay, so I'm going to stop my screen share, and I'm going to give it back to you guys. So if you have any input or idea. I have put some sample videos in there, but I wanted those videos to have messages embedded into it. We can hire again some people if we agree on what the message should be. Like I picked up a photo video stock for search engine, right? So now we can say video search engine, we don't have to produce it ourselves. And then we can put that right in front of the page on the Google instead of DuckDuckGo, that becomes the first thing. Video search engine, right? Boom. And then 3 doors. And these doors are like a revolving door, that could be really cool. And then, the guy wants to figure out which one. These are what we call creating curiosity, because I was just working with the colleagues of mine on Disney side that, like you see with the Obi Kenobi, for example, they're building the anticipation.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because we haven't built it yet. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And that anticipation creates the demand. The demand is rush time. And that is exactly what our mission is in here, to create anticipation at different layers of market, attract investors so we can show them the anticipation is building traction, and we require the investment to fill the demand. And that becomes
okay.
Now, the other thing that we got to do is we got to build social media pages. Okay. So you got to have your Facebook, you got to have your Twitter, all of it, because everybody, first thing they want to do is go there, including on LinkedIn. I have over 3,000 followers. Okay. So when I post something about Meta Exchange, they will read it. But I am not ready, you're not ready. So we want to get our ducks in a row. So when we are started posting. But meanwhile, what we can do is what we call pre-production. And pre-production is taking some of our recorded time or allocate time and record sessions. Okay, but about, like we are talking to the audience, not among ourselves. Okay, so we put the white paper, right? And let Murdoch talk about the white paper, about different columns of the white paper. What do they mean? What do the impact would do? Things like that. So I may be like a host, or you become a host, right? We create the questionnaire, and the questionnaire becomes part 1, part 2, part 3, right? Because now you build a hierarchy, and then you build that as a video library, and then you make that available on the website. So this way, you don't have to keep repeating yourself.
No, I like it.
So those are what I call working smarter and managing our time.
Right.
So with that in mind, you guys look at some of the suggestions that I had and share it with him. If you endorse it and approve it, then let's put it into a motion. I like to pick up some color themes, okay, because we got to stick to some color theme to create the visual and the background, and stick with that color theme. This white and blue, blah, it's not consumer friendly. Let's put it this way.
No, it's not.
I hate to tell you this. Like, for example,
it's totally not.
Thank you. Like when I did the
I'm
web to
aesthetic.
like we did web to tele magic button, You know, we won't even hire the person to do a jingle, okay? Because with the jingle you remember, right? We have to tell you magic button, you know. So we want something to remember, right? So you got to think of a name branding. He came up with something like Viola or something like that, but you know, entertain it, look at the idea, but ideally speaking, we got to build the character, personality, avatar, you know, storyteller. All of these things becomes part of the marketing that has nothing to do with coding, but that's what sells.
Right, right.
So, yeah, I got a few question because it's been my first one. So is there a website? I tried to log into the website, I couldn't go. So can I have access? Seems like we have things are up there.
These are the guys that they give you security access because they allow you with their user ID and a passcode, and you get, because it's not open to the public, and then you get behind WordPress and you get access to it. Yes.
Okay, and then
so access granted as soon as these guys approve it.
All right.
Next.
Thank you. So I guess are you suggesting we should like find a template, or we already have some?
He has a template already installed, but that template needs modification because we need to adapt it to our way, not just make it into a template that every corporate website looks like Cousin Vinny.
I see. Okay. Yeah. And then like for generating like videos and content, would that be something that we do? I mean, that's like because like especially like we're trying to pitch AI that the bar is really high.
Really high.
Yeah. So I guess who would be doing the content generation or videos?
Content generation videos, it's an art by itself. I work with the different groups out in Europe, and because I've been doing this for the last 22 years. First thing what we got to do with any video is I'll send you some templates. Like I just had to do a project with JP Morgan Bank. Okay. You basically want to make it as cheap as possible and as flexible as possible. But you need somebody who knows Final Cut or knows Premiere, Adobe, and spend the time to do the kind of things needs to be done. There are essentially few ingredients that you need in the video: transition, the content itself, the voiceover, and the music. And more importantly, the script. So everything starts with the script. It's like a movie. In the old days when I used to live in California, every day I was in Cafe Roma. Everybody was talking about script. Nobody was talking about anything else, just at lunchtime on a script.
Is that Cafe Roma in Davis?
Yeah.
No, really. I mean, in UC Davis, because there is a Cafe Roma there.
Yeah. But I was the one that I was referring to was in LA on Westwood area.
So, I guess my question was like, so actually Tammy and we're not really generating the videos, right? So we just kind of
no, we are not going to generate the video. We're going to create the script collectively.
Okay, that's what I'm
we got to agree to telling a story. Okay, the story resonates, and people remember. Like for example, you know, when you pick up a character for a personality, right? Or you pay a celebrity for a endorsement, right? You want people to create the reference, right?
Sure.
Right.
It's not about the engine, okay? Because nobody is going to go and look at the V12 engine when you're buying your Mercedes. Am I correct?
Correct.
You're just going to go sit down and say, I got an AMG, I know it works, right? And you want to sit in the dashboard. Murdoch comes from the back end, okay? I come from the other side because for me, CX and UX, if it is not done, you can have the most powerful engine. Nobody's going to sell it. Because I've been in compression algorithm. When I was with UNLV and UCLA guys, we couldn't sell compression to anybody. Did we end up make it into a product? Okay.
Yeah.
So productization is the user experience. And
I totally get.
Right. So that's I call it the bridge from a project management, because you got to bring the data and the user experience, match it toward the consumers or enterprise or hybrid guys that you're managing as your product categories, call it three classes, right? With your strategies in here that you are building as infrastructure, so you know what needs to be done, and then connect that to an uncharted territory that you've never been in it, called AI and quantum computing, like qubits. Understand, you know, our journey is not here with the structured data. We got to get into AI and qubits, because those where we can harness massive amount of data. Like I'm working with the AI guy. When you read 400 billion samples, okay, you don't want all of a sudden that search takes, call me with a cup of coffee, taking its time, right?
Right.
Indexing, trying to find the damn thing. That'll be a nightmare. And that is one of the reasons that, Kamran John, there was a patent that we put it into the folder. It was a gift of a colleague that it was given to me. It's called N dimension on the algorithm.
Okay.
This gentleman passed away, but he escrowed to his family.
Sorry to hear that.
No problem. And when I was writing my artificial intelligence streaming back in 2000 to 2007, you know, we were working, but I really didn't have time to get into it. But I felt it is worth looking at it and applying the principles of his patent into our infrastructure, because when we were doing the math in those days, we could increase the speed of Google search by 10,000 times.
Wow, 10,000 times.
That was back in those days. But I really didn't want to get into it because I was in another rabbit hole myself. So I think it's time. That's one of the reasons when you do what they call research and development, right? You got to do the research. First, understand, like I met with NVIDIA. NVIDIA, I want to show you something that I wanted him to understand why I insist, for example, on NVIDIA is a thing that gives us the capability of doing what we want to do in a very dynamic way. And I'm going to show you this room for a second so you can see what I'm referring to. So just 1 second, and I'm going to do a screen share. Okay. I'm going to put myself on the sidebar, and I'm going to increase Lady, start from here. Okay, I'm going to.
Even when I could pick the bag was my audience. And I think whether it's while I don't think but I think now I ahora pues va a incluir más fotografía vos y ves antes, ¿no?
Pas mal, mais est-ce que Maxime comprend aussi d'autres langues?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You got the idea?
Yeah, amazing. Now, who's Maxime?
Okay, my view is on Monday, I'm assembling a team actually. I have 2 teams that they're going to start working on the SDK with NVIDIA over this because we're bringing it into our ICDN.
Okay.
The main communication problem is when I deal with multinationals. Okay. And with the AI, they have solved the problem. And also they are bringing AR into the AR. So when we build our rooms with the meta room, right? When we connect it to here, when there are different reporters are coming, for example, from different nations, talk about Russia, for example, right? Now we don't have to worry about language barrier. That's a game changer.
Right.
Okay.
It is.
Now you can research the content through NLP and find the thing and index it and sort it and find it through the metadata. And that's what we are talking about, feeding it back to the system. And so, oh, here we found all of the information. So you see, it's It's a whole different onset of different thinking than what we are doing right now. And that's why I am pushing, because NVIDIA is going to be a very important strategic partner to me as a company that I'm working, because I have been working with them, but at the same time, they have things in the back end for GPU, which I introduced Murdo to it, because we would need a lot of GPU power. And we would need a front end that is called AI MXC to integrate the services, okay, powered by AI. So we can do facial recognition, we can do authentication, we can do a lot of things that we cannot do on stupid Zoom or other applications. So we want to go to the next chapter of life. That's where I have to sell this to the investor as a $1 trillion business, not a, oh, we're going to be using Zoom, we're going to be doing, and none of those things are going to work for us. I'm telling you, in the investment market.
Right, no.
So taking that into
it's the next level.
Right. Taking that into consideration, I want you to do a masterpiece. I don't like to do work that it's replicated. Okay, this is where I am a solution engineer, but I'm also a system integrator. I love, and I make like, I'm changing this codec that it's in my room with NVIDIA, because I engineered it that I can change codec instantaneously. So if there is one codec that I need to build as an SFU or MCU or mesh, I can do that instantly for a client's project. That is why these things becomes like an engine. Like, do you want a V12 or do you want a 4-cylinder, right? Do you want this or do you want that, right? These are the selling tools that we're going to sell to the corporations when we are doing licensing, right? Do you want an AI room or do you want a simple room, right? Do you want this? Do you want that? Those are all suggestive selling to get us to the revenue recognition. So that's my suggestive ideas that I wanted to share with you. If you have any comments or anything else, otherwise I'll end the recording and share it.
Yeah, I think basically what I feel like we need to do first is not even like look at the website now, just kind of restructure in our mind what the UX needs to look like, the user experience needs to look like based on your feedback. You know, like I'm used to doing like prototypes or you know, mocking it up, so we can actually see it, agree to it. And then once we get that, like we're going to place a video here. The video that's going to be here is going to tell this story, and then what we need to do is we need to write scripts to the pieces that we need to build, like the videos that we need to build, or the pictures we need to find. But we need to build what that structure is, not based on the old website. I want to mock up the conversation so that we can, you know, you can see the difference between what the website is now versus what we envision it to be, and then we can start building, you know, what the videos need to be, what the pictures need to be, what the script is, what the story is, that kind of thing.
Correct.
So that's my take on what we need to do next, Cameron.
Okay.
And normally, again, you know, just to give some wireframe ideas and so forth, again, you know, we can look at all of those as an option. But yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly, because one of the things that we have to do is first understand what is it that we want to do, right? And how do we want to present ourselves? Because we have only one chance. I don't want to come premature. I don't want to come in a way that all of a sudden it looks like, you know, we are just another company, because everybody judges us. So rather than getting into that kind of a context, I think it's best to really come back into what I call, okay, what do we do? You know, where do we go? And there are some things that I'm trying to find for us. If I can, then I'll share it with you right now as a reference point, again, just to educate you, hopefully see.
Because I totally see what you're saying. It's in my head. I just got to get it out of my head. Put on paper.
Exactly.
So we all can see it and agree to it and build on it.
Right. Because with that, then this is how I work, because I work with a lot of brands, okay, around the globe. And one of the things that I always have to look at it is what's in their head, right? Without that, you cannot really build a model that's bottom. And that's one of the things that it becomes very challenging. So I want to make sure that we have something that everybody agrees, right? And then we can go into
Well, it's kind of a good thing I have experience working at a radio station that has a website and uses video content for everything. So
Yeah.
at least I have that. That's where my head is going, is all the stuff that we used to do there. So
Exactly. So anyway, that's the general idea that we wanted to share with you. And I'm going to stop the recording.